video is 10 questions about my business and being a dietitian. And you guys asked me all on social media top 10 questions. So I went through and I picked the best of the best and the ones that I thought would be most helpful to you guys. So for those of you who are dietitians or are thinking about going back to school to become a dietitian, or our students, hopefully these questions will really help you guys out. And I will also link below in the description box previous blog posts that are a little bit more in depth and like how I ended up doing what I'm doing and all of that shenanigans. I will link it down below so you can read it at your leisure. So let's get started. Okay, question number 1. What resources did you use to set up your online nutrition counseling business? So the first thing is, basically, if you don't have a website, you don't exist. And before I knew I was going to do what I do as a dietitian and have counseling and things like that, I had a blog. And as long as you have an online presence, you really have a place to start. So I originally started my website on WordPress.com, whatever the free one was, because I was a student. And then I changed to WordPress.org, which allowed a little bit more customization to fit my branding and what I wanted. But then I eventually switched over to Squarespace, and this is why. Because I offer an online checkout system as well as ebooks and downloads and things like that, I needed a store within my website. So Squarespace has an integrated theme that allows for that. And I'll link that down below. I have to go ask my husband because I really don't remember what it was, but it allows the store function. So that is one of the biggest ones. The other most important thing is figuring out a domain name. Domain names aren't a huge deal because you can do, what are they called? Permanent reroutes, something like that. But as long as you have a URL, you can buy tons of different ones, reroute them to the same address, but it really helps people identify. So for example, my old blog was carlenethomas.com. It's now healthfullyeverafter.co, but they both lead to the same website. And actually it's funny because even friends of mine didn't realize my URL had changed because they still look up carlenethomas.com. Hold on, the kitty wants to go out. Go ahead. Friends of mine didn't even realize the URL had changed because they always go to carlenethomas.com. But so that being said, you can change it, but you have to just get a website, get something up there. Okay, question number 2. What first steps were the most important to setting up your business? Was it an LLC, a website, a business plan? The first thing is not all the detailed stuff you feel like you should be doing. It's not a business plan. It's not getting an LLC. The first thing you need to do is figure out why you're doing what you're doing. And that can really help you guide the rest of your decisions. I feel like we can get people who work in nutrition or who want to work in nutrition are typically very type A perfectionists, and we will wait literally forever, put something off and never get it done until we feel like it's just right or until we feel like we're experts enough. And you can't take that long. I have so many regrets about not starting to do things sooner. And it was because I felt like I wasn't good enough, or I was just a student, or I was too young. And that's partially because of what other people in this profession had been telling me. People who had been dietitians for a little, who were maybe professors or directors of my internship program or whatever it was, that were really negative voices, and I shouldn't have listened to them, but I did, and I let it get to me. So I'm thinking about if I had started my blog 2 years earlier than I did, I would have been so much further along. Or even YouTube. I had been wanting to start a YouTube channel for at least 2 years, and I didn't. And it's kicking me because I look back and I've just been doing this since the start of 2015, and I have so much to learn. And if I had started earlier, it would have been better. So that being said, just start with a vision, decide what you want to do, why you want to do it, and figure it out. The next step is online presence. The faster you get a Twitter profile, a website, or a blog, the better, because if you do not exist on those platforms, you don't exist at all, really, especially if you want to do counseling where people find you online. There are no more yellow pages. People don't look in phone books. People really search online for finding a nutritionist. Even the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, they have that Find an RD thing, and that purely exists online. Like, they aren't sending out packets of information of people's names. So get a website. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Just get it up there and perfect it, because even now, I've been blogging for 4 or 5 years now, and it's never perfect. There are always things I want to change. So that is the first thing. In terms of when I set up, an LLC and a business plan, I I did my LLC, which is basically your business license and how you set up your business legally. I think I did that a year or two ago, and it's like an online legal process. You figure out if you want to be in an S corp or a sole proprietor, and you work through all of that, and that's not super important. I know people who have advised other new businesses to just hold off, but there are some places you can look to figure out what'll fit best for you, but I really recommend talking to an accountant or another dietitian who's similar to what you think you want to structure your business. As far as a business plan, I don't have one. Like, I don't have a binder that says like Carlene's business plan. I really just take stock of where I am, and I have goal sheets, and I guess that's kind of the new business plan for me. I have a vision of where I want to go. I have ways to get there. I did my market research for the population I originally got involved in, which was weddings. But I don't have like literally a binder that says Carlene's business plan. So don't get super caught up in doing your business plan or what you think you should, because you don't really need one. Not everyone does, at least. Question number 3, how much of your business is divided between counseling, clients, consulting, etc.? So this is actually really funny, because I feel like what people think I do and what I actually do are super different. So as far as taking private clients, that's a relatively small portion of my business. People kind of know me as, when I first started, I was kind of like the wedding wellness dietitian, and people thought that was the majority of what I do, but it actually isn't. And even now, seeing clients is such a small portion of what I do. Most of what I do is actually recipe development, food photography, and content creation, which is so exciting for me because that's something I never thought I would do as a dietitian. Whoops, sorry about that. My friend Claire, who also has a YouTube channel, Claire Ashley Beauty, she did my hair for an interview I did on CNN the other day, and I texted her a picture of my hair like, you taught me how to do it, I'm never using a curling iron again, because she taught me how to curl using a straightening iron. Yeah, so anyway, the majority of what I do is content creation and consulting for other brands, and I think that's super exciting. Oddly, a huge portion of my income from early 2015 came from specifically food photography, which blows my mind because I am not a classically trained photographer. I purely out of necessity learned how to photograph and style food, because you can't sell healthy food to your blog audience unless it looks really good. So that was actually a big coup, I feel like, for me, because it really legitimized how much effort and time and money I had spent into doing food photography. Question number 4, do you feel your blog, social media presence has been vital to your success? 100%. Out of the clients I do see in my practice, literally 95% of them find me through social media. Like, a large portion of them actually find me through Instagram, blog interviews I've done, or like content I've done on other blogs, or I guess magazine articles now. But most people and most collaborations, they all occur through my website, and that's why, if you look at my Instagram profile, I literally have my email address. And if anybody has any questions about that, I've never gotten anything sketchy or like harassment based through my email address, so it's not like sketchy to do. But yeah, everything I have and I do, I think, is because I'm online and because people can find me and because they can see examples of how I write and how I talk, which are oddly very similar. I basically write the same way I talk. Or how I style food, or how I am on camera. So if interviews need to happen, they know I won't freak out under the pressure of seeing like a camera. Although, truth be told, when CNN came and did that interview with me the other day, the camera was like this big and there were hot lights, and it's totally different than like me talking to you on camera. But having an online presence and putting your portfolio of sorts on there is absolutely essential. If you are not online, you're so behind. You have to get online. Start a blog. You don't have to be on every social network. I hate Facebook, for example. Facebook is just not my jam, but I love Instagram. You don't need to be everywhere, but you need to be somewhere for sure. Question number 5. What do you feel has been the most useful tool for promoting your blog and your business? This actually goes to the previous question. Number 1, it's been blogging and networking. The more you do collaborations, or your links are featured on somebody else's website, or people link back to you, or they tweet your stuff, the more your audience, your sphere of influence, the community, which is awesome, the more it grows. I know there are a lot of dietitians who you've probably heard people talk about healthprofs.com, which is an online basically directory of dietitians. So if somebody was to look up your city and dietitian or nutritionist, your name would come up. That's not helpful to me. More so, the best place for me has just been being on social media, period. There are also other people who say that being as part of a chamber of commerce is great for them. It was horrible for me. It was the wrong place for me to be. It was mostly B2B deals that were happening, so business to business. So like, for example, a restaurant would cater a bank's reception. So there was no place for me. Nobody was looking for a creative collaborator, at least not in my city. So there are things that are going to work for other dietitians that may not work for you, especially depending on the city, but especially depending on their age or what they do. Chamber of Commerce is not the place for me. Healthprofs.com is not the place for me. Doing the business networking events, that doesn't work for me. But that being said, going to blogging events or invites I get from businesses or event planning groups in DC, those are worth my while because those are more my people and those are more my collaboration styles. So pick what works for you, pick what works for your brand audience and what you think will actually be really beneficial to you. You don't have to do something just because someone else found it helpful. Okay, this one made me laugh. How is being a dietitian different now than 10 years ago? And what do you think it will look like 10 years from now? Okay, so first of all, I've not been a dietitian for 10 years, but I can attest to the fact that what being a dietitian was like when I was in school is even very different from what it is now. I'm a very new dietitian. I'm not pretending to know everything by any means. I have a long way to go, but I'm more than willing to share with you what I know. So when I was in college and undergrad and in an internship, nutrition was heavily clinically and hospital focused. So the majority of dietitians, and they still do, were working in a hospital setting. And that just isn't for me. A lot of dietitians, it was basically you worked in either community nutrition like WIC or Head Start, or you worked in food service, or you worked in a hospital. Doing your own thing was very rare, and when I was in school and I said that was what I wanted to do, I maybe wanted to work more on the communication side of things, or I wanted to do private practice, or I wanted to do consulting, I was basically told you can't do it. So I don't know if it was me being stubborn or me knowing I could, but I just didn't listen to it. There was definitely a status quo, and I think especially in universities, people who have maybe been teaching a long time don't realize that the industry is changing, and it's changing very fast. And I think they're doing a disservice to students and new dietitians by telling them you can't go into consulting or private practice until you worked in a hospital for 30 years, and then you can go do outpatient, and then maybe you can start your business. But you know what? Those places, while they had their value, they weren't beneficial for what I needed to know, which was PR and business and things that they don't teach you in undergrad. So I worked with dietitians who were very willing, and I'm so thankful for them, who took me under their wing to learn kind of this weird consulting business side of things. So my number one resource to you guys is to tell you, go to places like allaccessinternships.com or Nutrition Entrepreneurs to find a mentor. Find people who are doing what you are doing and say, can I get coffee with you? I'm coming with a list of questions. Come prepared, because honestly, there's nothing worse than a student emailing you and saying, how did you get to where you are? Because like, oh my God, just look at the frequently asked questions page. It's really annoying to have the same questions asked to you that you've already provided answers to on the website. As far as where I think nutrition will be in, hello amigo. As far as where I think nutrition will be in 10 years from now, I think it's really exciting that we're moving towards a super personalized, technology-based way of health. So be it fitness trackers or the really cool research that's being done on genetics, or even like gut microbiome health and how it affects mood and your ability to fight infection, and it's just fascinating. That being said, I also think we're moving towards a very simplified way of nutrition in terms of people want to people want to kind of go back to a simpler way of eating and living, and so I think that's going to bring a lot more people to cook at home, to garden, to go to farmers markets, to preserve food and learn about seasonality again, and I think that's really exciting. So I'm very excited for the next 10 years of nutrition for sure. Okay, so the next question is, my biggest struggle is how many people want the services of nutrition but don't want to pay for it. How do you handle it? It's very frustrating for people to, when they find out you're a dietitian nutritionist, say, oh my gosh, I need to work with you, I want to lose weight, I want to get healthier, how do I do it? And they just assume like you know their entire medical history and you know what they've been doing, and you're like, oh, of course, I have the answer for you. This works for everyone. Like, no, that doesn't happen. But they don't want to pay for your services. So I think pretty quickly I figured out I was finding it frustrating that people didn't want to pay for my services. But I think one thing that might be helpful is making sure you have an alternative source of revenue coming in, so you aren't so focused on the sell aspect of it, and the right patients will come to you. Make sure you are promoting yourself in places that the right patient is going to come find you, and not wasting your money in places where you know someone is likely not going to pay for that specific service. So for example, if you are a sports specialist or endurance runner or something like that, and you help people with nutrition, the right place for you to advertise isn't going to be in like a pediatrician's office. You're going to need to find a place where your ideal client exists, and so the ask you're making of them to have services, to connect for services with you and pay for it, will make a lot more sense to them, and you can waste less energy answering questions like, how much do you cost? Which again is exactly why I list my prices on my website. I hate fielding questions that can be answered, and so when somebody does see my price and they're like, yes, I still want to work with you, then the transaction happens without a lot of administrative work for me trying to make the sell, I guess. Okay, next question. I know that I need a business license, etc., but what do I need to think about as far as copyright for my business and blog content to protect myself? So number one is just Google literally anywhere, add a copyright statement to your website. So all you have to do is put it there. It's really basically go to any other blog and you should be able to see it. So just add that simple copyright statement. If you ever have any questions about anything, this is the right place to talk to an intellectual property lawyer. If you are part of any of the electronic mailing lists for a DPG or your state affiliate, ask other dietitians if they have recommendations. It's really crazy content-wise, how quickly you can see your pictures on other places that you haven't allowed. So what I always do is, if that ever comes up, just be on the lookout. I set up Google alerts for my name and anything I have trademarked, so I always get the alerts if someone else is using it, or if my content has been republished without my consent, even though they're using my name, which happens with a lot of kind of those junky websites that literally just pull content and republish it. So be on the lookout for it. Have the copyright statement, and that's a really great thing. Have a lawyer on speed dial that you really trust. You can also go through a trademark process if you feel like it is pertinent to what you want to do. It is not always necessary. Okay, question number 9. Who do you credit most of your success to? Number 1, 100%, is my husband, who is so patient, who is so understanding of like this very weird world where you have to Instagram food when you're at the restaurant, and he is actually great at taking pictures for me if he's out, if he sees something cool, or like moving things for me when we're doing that. He's so supportive and so understanding and so just awesome, and I literally couldn't do what I do without him. The other 2 groups of people, one is my dietitian mastermind group. It's so nice to have found kind of like my tribe of people who I can bounce ideas off of, who understand the industry, and who have done similar projects, and we can kind of talk about contracts and things like that. And then also the girls in my Georgetown studio, who I've talked about lots before, and they're just awesome, and they make me such a better business person, and I learned so much from them. And all of them are so important to me. So thank you to all of you for all of your help and your patience and your understanding. Okay, last question. What is your biggest tip to new entrepreneurs? Just get started. I think a lot of people in this industry, we're very type A, we're very perfectionist, we're very particular, but if we let that get in the way, you will literally get nothing done. I think the most frustrating thing is when you finally start, you get some traction, you look back and you're like, oh, if only I started this like 2 years ago, or when I first had that thought to actually do something. I remember I had wanted to start my own blog like 2 years before I actually did. I wanted to start doing YouTube like 2 years before this, and I look back and I'm like, if only I had started then, I would be so much further ahead. So I let things get in the way. I let insecurities about not doing it perfectly, or being the wrong age, or not knowing enough, or whatever get in the way, and it is so stupid to let that happen. So kind of let go for a little bit, just get it done. You can always edit things later, and just go for it. I think the other thing is always remember why you got started. There are times nobody tells you this as a business owner. There are like floods and droughts of business and income and things like that. Or there are times when you'll just be so frustrated and you'll get trapped in a comparison, especially with people who've been in this industry so much longer than you. And you're just like, why am I doing this? And if you have that reason you can go back to, you can survive. So I hope these were helpful. Thank you guys for your questions, and let me know in the description box below or in the comment section below if you have other questions about business or nutrition or any other questions in general, and we can do another question and answer video. Again, like I said before, I will link previous blog posts I've kind of written about why I got into this industry and other questions along those lines about my internship, etc. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Come in. Okay. Do you want to come in too? Okay, there we go.
Okay, it's going.
Is it already filming?
Yeah, it's filming now.
No, wait. Can you shut that?
Yes.
Unless, what are you eating this on?
No, it's not.
Thank you.